Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 2026 Royal Ascot preview brought to you by textbet, the smarter way to place your bets via WhatsApp. It's one of the biggest betting weeks of the year, and it is finally upon us. We shall be taking an in-depth look at every day of Royal Ascot, discussing the key races, the strongest form lines, the best value opportunities, and most importantly, the horses we are backing throughout the week. And for this Royal Ascot episode, I'm delighted to be joined by both Jordan Hopkins and Steve Ryder, two experts of the game. Onto the Gold Cup on Thursday. We're going to start with Thursday now. It's, I suppose, that the most important race of the meeting in terms of prestige, history, and I think this year we could have a decent one. I don't think it's going to be all in the hands of Aidan O'Brien. Scandinavia's got stamina to prove, over 2.5 miles. Then we have Rahib, who could be anything for Roger Varian. Trawlerman, last year's winner, Cabada, Sweet William, and a few others. Looks like a good race, I think, this year, and certainly not a one-way street as far as Scandinavia is concerned. Jordan, what do you reckon about this one?
I think Scandinavia is going to be extremely hard to beat. The more I look at it, I just think he's just going to grind this out and just be hard to pass. Rahib looks an improved horse last time at York. I think he's well up to laying down a strong challenge to him. Obviously, they've met before in the Ledger last year, and Rahib was kind of closing well at the line. I'm sure he'll have plenty of supporters, but I've sort of come round to the idea that I hope they try and take on Scandinavia, and we end up with something like 6-4, 7-4, maybe 2-1 on the day. I can't see it. I think Scandinavia will go off shade of odds on and just win, to be honest. But hopefully he goes off for a bigger price, and I will be parting some cash with him.
Okay, say no more. I have to say, I don't know what you think, Steve, but for me, it is Trawlerman who they've got to go and beat. I mean, for me, he's the one who sets the standard. We know that he stays the trip really well. He won by 7 lengths in the race last year. He'll be spot on for it. I mean, for me, he's the one they've got to catch. I know that he's around about 6-1, third in the betting, but I think until they do it, he's the one who sets the standard. What do you think?
Yeah, he says it's going to be spot on for this, but he has had a setback, hasn't he? An interrupted prep. They didn't think he was going to make it, and now they do seem to think that he's going to make it. I think him running in the race is going to be essential to make sure that there's a strong pace, because a few of these do have stamina doubts. It's rare that you ever get to run over 2.5 miles as a flat horse. I think Scandinavia is made for this race. He only ever does enough. He's been given the Aidan O'Brien standard prep for this vintage crop onto the Saddleberg. He's unbeaten since the application to cheap pieces, won the Goodwood Cup, won the St Ledger. Yeah, and I've got absolutely no concern about the trip for him. I would have a slight concern about the trip for Rahib, if I'm being honest. He showed plenty of pace to win that Yorkshire Cup. They kind of went a bit of a crawl. Amerloc didn't want to be in front. And even though you look like you're staying on in a Ledger and you look like you're staying on well in a Yorkshire Cup, it's a completely different kettle of fish staying on and staying 2.5 miles in an Ascot Gold Cup. And I think he is going to have his supporters, and I do think Jordan might well get his wish. I do think we'll be able to get some sort of 7-4 around Scandinavia, but I do think he's going to prove really, really hard to beat.
Okay, Jordan and Steve hoping for a strong finish from Scandinavia. Good luck with that, lads. That was a bad
We got
one.
it.
No, you got it. Didn't laugh. That's how bad it was. Okay.
Just too used to your wit now, Tom. It's just too quick.
My lack of wit. Great stuff. Okay, I'm really looking forward to it, actually. I think it's got a few angles this year, the Gold Cup. On Thursday, the biggest supporting races the Ribblesdale and the Britannia. We're not entirely sure what those fields are going to be looking like just yet. So a bit like on Wednesday, I'm going to throw those in with the rest of the card. The Chesham, the King George V, the Hampton Court, and the Buckingham Palace. So we'll just go through those races. And Steve, wonder if you've got anything that you fancy in any of them, really.
I don't overly fancy it. I thought it was really interesting, the news that Gilded Prize is heading to the Ribblesdale rather than the Deanne. I thought that was really interesting. Won her first 3 career starts, lost her unbeaten record on soft ground, hence why she's going to come here. Yeah, she's versatile tactics-wise. She's been held up previously. She's made the running previously. I think it was that opener of an Oaks, looking at it, that if you had an Oaks filly, you'd have ran there. So I think this might be quite a weak field. So the fact that the Gilded Prize is heading here rather than the Deanne is quite noteworthy, but I've got no idea what the field is going to make up. With regards to the Britannia, I'll put one horse up that I could either run here or in the Golden Gates on Saturday over 1.2 miles, and that's Princeling. I really like him as a horse. His second at Newmarket last season has worked out incredibly well. Yazin won it and won on his reappearance before slightly disappointing in the Heron. The third, fourth, fifth and sixth have all won since. Justified a short price to get off the mark, and then was fourth in that Silver Bowl at Carlisle. I thought he got outpaced that day and stayed on well. And I know Carlisle's quite a stiff finish, but the stiff finish at Ascot will suit him. If they do step up in trip to a mile and 2 for the Golden Gates instead, I'd still be with him. But I think something like the Britannia would suit him well. Big field, plenty of pace to aim at. I think Princeling will be interesting if he heads to the Britannia or the Golden Gates. The Cheshire Mile's really taken by Ayla Chappelle, who won on debut at the Curragh over 7 furlongs. His stablemate Giant Sequoia was sent off 4-9 and was all the talking horse. But Ayla Chappelle was really impressive. He's a Justify out of Immortal Verse, who was a brilliant race mare herself. She beat Goldacova in a Prix Jacques Marois back in the day and has also produced Henri Matisse. So Ayla Chappelle is eligible for the Chesham, and I think we'll end up heading there off the back of that victory last time. And then looking at the Hampton Court Protection Act has been bought by Wathnan Racing.
Saw that, yeah.
Following his reappearance win. Now, he won on his debut at Haydock. He then won that conditions race at Goodwood. If you look at the form that day, the second Pacific Avenue went on to finish third in the Irish 2000 Guineas. He still holds an entry for the St James's Palace Stakes, but according to George Bowie, he is going to head to the Hampton Court instead. And yeah, that step up in trip won't be any inconvenience to him.
Yeah, really interesting thoughts there, Steve. I saw that Wathnan had bought Protection Act. I thought that was fascinating. I've only got one actually on the rest of Thursday. I'm going to go with a horse who actually also ran the Silver Bowl. Hopefully Crest of Fire runs in the Britannia, because I think he's really well handicapped. He's gone up £5 for finishing 2 lengths behind Blue Courvoisier in that race, but he didn't get the clearest of runs and he was staying on nicely. I thought he was an absolute snip off 86, and I still think he's probably decently treated off 91. He's quite lightly raced, and I expect him to run very well. Crest of Fire goes for the Britannia, so watch that space with him. Jordan, anything for you on Thursday?
Yeah, just while we're on that race from last time at Carlisle, I thought Langstone was a bit of
We've all got one.
In that race. Yeah, we've got one. We've got the second, third, and fourth from the race. Throw Blue Courvoisier out. It's got no chance, but no,
exactly.
No, Lang's obviously. I'd assume Blue Courvoisier is going for the race as well. He'd have a decent chance. It's again these sorts of races. I mean, it'll be 31 runners. Like, you're going to need to see the draw. Like, there's bound to be something we've kind of will only notice and might fancy once you see the entries and declarations. But I do really like that Langstone. I think he's got a nice handicap in him, and the only thing I'd say about him potentially is he's probably going to be better on softer ground. Like, he's by Mason, and most Masons like softer ground, but he clearly goes on good to firm ground. I just think with his action and just generally the way he moves, he's probably going to be better with a bit of juice in the ground personally. But he'd have a decent chance if he lines up. Steve mentioned Protection Act. He's nearly my nap of the week.
Here we go.
I think he's a proper horse. I was actually hoping that George was going to run him in the Golden Gates, because I think he'd have been probably the biggest certainty in that since missed the cut. And I was pretty confident he was going to go for that. But I guess what mark is he? Let me just double check now. He's like 100 and something now. I think 102 maybe after Goodwood. So yeah, I guess just treat him like he's 103. Like, treat him like a group horse now, because he is, I guess. Like, I think he'd win the Golden Gates of 103. So yeah, maybe they changed their minds. I parked right next to George at Epsom on Saturday, and I only asked him one question about where this horse goes, because he's probably mentioned it in some preview, but he said they're looking to the Hampton Court. So I think he's nearly the nap of the week for me. And let me just remember what races we were on here, and I did have one more thing to say. One more thing to bore you with.
Ribblesdale or Chesham?
Chesham. Revels for Carl Burke. Like, I think Unibet, I thought this was maybe going to be like a little bit of a semi-clever shout, but Unibet are the only people that put a book up yet for this, and I think he's 6-1 third favourite, so clearly it's not that shrewd. But he was bought by Andrea Brereton, would be a good friend of mine. She was involved in the buying of this horse for Linda Mars. I think it's the first horse that Linda's had with Carl, not 100%, but yeah, I think they paid 300 for this, which would be kind of a lot. Probably the most that Linda spent on a horse in the UK, potentially in as a yearling anyway. And yeah, like, he was seriously impressive. I thought at Reg probably wasn't much of a race, but I just think he profiles quite well for this. And yeah, I was hoping I was going to get a bit better than 6-1. Hopefully I do. Maybe the lads at textbet can give us a bit of a better price.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on, chaps. Let's see what you can do.
Yeah,
good stuff. Yeah, exactly. Good stuff, Jordan. I've got to say again, what a shock! I was at Kempton when Langstone won. He was he he is the most beautiful physical. Like, he's gorgeous to look at. And I think you're right about potentially wanting a bit of softer ground because he's got that sort of build, that action. I assume you'll be saying, yeah, he's the most beautiful horse I've seen too, apart from Ascot's captain. Yeah. Cool. Right, we covered Thursday, apart from best bet. So best bet Thursday, actually, Jordan, you just said yours. That's Protection Act, I assume.
Yeah, sorry, I jumped the gun there.
No, not at all. Best bet of the week. I love it. And Steve, what about you?
Yeah, it'll be Scandinavia in the Gold Cup for me.
Okay, I will go with Crest of Fire. Hopefully, he'll run Britannia. Gents, tremendous. We've covered plenty in that podcast. All things Royal Ascot. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, all of you at home, for watching. If you haven't already, you can apply for your account at jointextbet.co.uk via the link in the description. So please do make sure you do that if you haven't already. And the last thing for me to say is best of luck with everything that you're backing and keeping on side at Royal Ascot. It's sure to be the best 5 days of the year on the flat, as it always is. Until next time from us here, it's goodbye.